Okay, we made it to episode 3. Who would have thought? I think that's going to be the intro to every single one, because episode 2 we said, how did we know we were going to make it to episode 2? Now we're on episode 3. And this time we have a guest, first guest. Let's welcome Brian. Brian, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here. I mean, I'm watching you guys getting this thing started, and I'm kind of hyped to be in the Sousa classroom and hanging with you guys.
Nice.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. And
at least we got one famous person on here. Because us three aren't famous, but this guy might be.
Yeah, this guy's got a
Kelsey,
heat
you
wave
wanted
behind
to
him.
be famous last time. Am I famous yet?
We're a week in and he's still not there yet. So
I mean, listen, the clips are all about me still. So.
Well, we're bringing in the big guns this time, so we're definitely happy to have you. We're excited for this episode. Obviously, we're going to get into the whole, high school soccer topic. Give us an introduction. How did this start? Where are we now? What are we doing here?
So I started coaching Oyster Bay High School's varsity team 10-ish years ago, and getting involved with the Nassau County Soccer Committee, being the conference committee chairperson for Conference B. And sitting in a committee meeting one day, we were talking about how can we best promote our athletes and what we're doing. And we had a Twitter page that was really not updated, not used at all, and a couple of the guys said we forgot the login information. And and I said, listen, these kids aren't even on Twitter anyway, so they're on Instagram. So one of the coaches looked at me and goes, well, why don't you start an Instagram page, Brian? Just kind of almost like throwing a challenge out or being a little sarcastic. And I'm like, all right, gauntlet's thrown, and not knowing that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go 110 miles an hour into it. Mm-hmm. So that night, I went home and created Nassau Soccer Instagram, did the Google, the Gmail, and here we are 6 years later, going strong.
A lot of followers, a lot of...
Yeah, we're just shy of 8,000 now, just kind of running, and, as it's kind of grown, it was a little shy in the very beginning. But now I just go out and I see, hey, let's go do this. Let's just go and do it and see what happens.
Yeah, I see checking out your Instagram page, and I think anyone can see, it's like in the moment, they just kind of pull the kid off, and it's like a real live almost interaction with the kid where it's like really raw. But then like what you said with Instagram's a crazy place, especially with media right now, like even podcasts, short clip shows, like the traction that we've found through Instagram has been obviously it's exciting for us because you get it there more so maybe than some other platforms. So you making that jump to Instagram, I guess, was a big deal and a bigger difference.
Yeah, it's certainly the way to go. I think that again, all these kids are on it. It's quick and it's digestible, and it's super easy to share things. Mm-hmm. It does have some negatives, but I think it's certainly all the positives has outweighed it.
I think the thing is that short form media is what kids consume these days. They're not going to watch a full podcast about all of us four old people, right? But they can consume
three old people.
Okay, 3 old people. Sounds good. But they can consume short clips and things that are to the point, and the stuff that you do that I love is just live and it's unedited.
Yeah,
it's just. It's kids say kid stuff sometimes, right? And some kids are really good on camera, and then some kids are really awkward on camera, and both of them are digestible because they're kind of relatable to everybody, right? So that's what I kind of like. And obviously I've been following you. For people who don't know, I obviously coach in Suffolk County High School, and I love what you do for Nassau, and obviously I think to some extent that is missing in Suffolk County. There could be a bigger media presence, and it's something that I've been talking to you about, and I talk to a lot of the Suffolk coaches about, but at the end of the day, it's about somebody driving it.
Yep.
And that's what you do. You drive content, and I think the other thing that's really relatable for me is just, it seems like, I know from speaking to you now, from having conversations with you, that you love it. You're all in. You're all in for the kids. You want kids to get publicity. You want kids to be out there. You want them to be seen, and you're all in on soccer. And we've had a conversation that wasn't the case always, right?
No.
You haven't always been in soccer. So I think that's kind of interesting to see where you came from. What did you do from a sporting perspective? How did you get into soccer, and when did you get into soccer?
So I do have to say also, I love when people say, listen, you're doing a great job, because it just gives me some validation. But typically there's a comma at the end of that. And then what usually comes next is, you must have a really understanding wife.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And I really
Anybody
do.
who works in soccer, like we run,
Right.
you work unsociable hours during the season
Yeah.
and all year round. We work unsociable hours. Yeah, it's not.
There's a reason why they're called soccer widows, right? But, and talking to all you guys, like, I never played soccer. So I stopped in like 7th grade on the orange team because I realized that my skills were just not even close to being where they needed to be. However, my cousin, who I looked up to tremendously, was a multi-time state champ in Virginia, and he would come up every summer because he wanted to work on Wall Street. And he would crash in my basement or in my bedroom, and interning in the city, he would show me, hey, let's watch some soccer. And at the time, in the early 90s, only thing we could do was watch soccer on MSG Network. And the only team they showed was Manchester United. So
As they should.
as they
Not
should,
As
Why
as
does
they
this
should.
rubbish club
It
come
just
up
keeps
every
revolving
time?
and
I got to
revolving
sit
and
with
revolving.
3 Man United fans today instead of 2. This is outrageous.
So
You got to catch on eventually.
So not knowing anything really about, other than like I know how it's supposed to be played, understanding I'm watching something truly great, right? The class of '92 is something special. I started to fall in love with the game, and I kind of always just watched it casually, and I started to get more and more into it. And then once I started teaching in a high school, I was like, all right, let me follow this high school team, and started watching them, and starting to kind of casually get involved with the team and just talking to them. There's a long-time venerated coach that we had, and on his way out, he said, hey, I think you'd be a good fit to take over. And I said, but I've never played. I don't know anything about the game, really. And he said, no, listen, you love the game, you love the kids, it's all you need. And that's kind of where I found myself.
Yep, definitely. And that's a good point, because even if you look at the pro level, there's a lot of great coaches professionally and never played. At the top level
the
too.
top level, absolutely.
So that correlates for sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting though. I didn't expect that. I thought, having this conversation that you'd having had played soccer for an extended period of time, that's crazy. Wow.
No. And part of me feels like that imposter syndrome, right? Standing on the side of the field, and I'm standing next to Coach Joe Lee from Locust Valley, who played it at Delphi, or I watch Akil Rodney from Floral Park, who was in the U.S. men's national team pool, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a fraud. I shouldn't be here.
No.
But I tell the kids all the time, I relate it to like Charlie Weiss, who used to be the Notre Dame head football coach. Never played a down of football, but he got one of the most prestigious jobs in college football by just studying constantly. And that's kind of where I kind of brought myself in.
But I think a lot of the new world of coaching now, well, it's not the new world, but what a lot of people are talking about is you can be good with the X's and the O's, but if you are relatable, personable, the man management, player management, holistic, personal development is probably the most important.
Yep.
Right? So if you can't do that, you can't relate to your players, a lot of coaches struggle anyway.
Yeah.
So you could know everything about the game, you could play the game at the elite level, but if you can't relate to people, then
I think
you're not gonna
especially
get
in
the
high
best out
school
of
as
it.
well, like the biggest thing for me in high school is generally on a varsity level, you carry a lot of players. And if you carry a lot of players, like your management of the group is so important, because I would say from my experience, we probably play 15 to 16 kids regularly, which means if we carry 28, 30 kids, there's a lot of kids who aren't engaged in every game, right? And that's that man management and that personal side of saying, how do you keep them engaged? What is their future? Do they know what their future outlook looks like in a school program? And it's really difficult, because regardless of what school program you're in, you do want to win. You're at varsity. This isn't JV. This isn't middle school, right? There's an intent there every year that your starting position in high school for me is, can we make playoffs? Right? I think that's everybody's, regardless of where you think your school is at the beginning of the year, whether you just got to be at 500 and you think, oh, we might be able to get to 500 this year, or we're a big school, we're a Brentwood or a Comac who should get to playoffs every year, and in Nassau County you have those as well, So I think like that management of a group is really, really important as well. So
Yeah, and I think that's where now we start looking at our schedule. So if we have our 10 to 12 scheduled league games, and I can do another 4 or 5 non-league games, now I'm selective with my non-league. So I'll go play, like, so for example, for me, I'll go up and I'll play a Calhoun, which is a double A school. I'm a B school. They're a double A school. So that's really more for my starters to put in work against a tougher opponent. Or I'll play a weaker opponent in a private league school who I know that we can run circles around, and that way I can put in the guys who
not
normally...
naming any names.
No, absolutely not. No. But to be honest with you, if you look at my record over the last 10 years, that's us also, right? We get beat up a lot. So trying to find those games where I can put in the guys who normally don't play games.
Yeah, no, that's good.
You have that benefit still in Nassau, because in Suffolk we don't play any non-league games anymore. So it's actually quite tough in Suffolk now.
Sure. I also have that benefit of being a B school, and up until this year, we were almost automatically in the playoffs. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I've been in the playoffs as a zero-win team.
Oh, geez.
Right, so I've had that luxury in some years. So it is, being selective about that also helps.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to be good, especially in this episode particularly, is like the relationship between club soccer and high school soccer. Like, these guys have coached high school soccer. I've only played it. I've never coached it. So, like, from your point of view, I mean, if you're just talking about the player standpoint, like, is it a fair statement to say, in your opinion, that, like, the competitive levels or even a player's effort changes when it comes to playing high school soccer or playing for their club, or no?
I don't know if there's a different competitive level, right? So I think what you guys do here is a much different animal than what we do on a high school level, right? So when you guys put together your team, let's say you carry 20 guys. All 20 of those guys can straight up play. When I put together my roster of 20, I'll have 2 or 3 guys who are elite club level guys, like that can play at Sousa. I'll have 5 or 6 athletes who can just appear on a field and are functional and can rise to a challenge. And then I'll have a couple of guys I can mold into that, and then the rest are just there to have some fun. So now I have to manage all of that, where
It's tough.
it's very hard. And then when you go to places like you guys, again, everyone can straight up play. So that's where a lot of that management comes in, and trying to figure out how best to service everybody.
Yeah.
I think something I always talk to people about is like the level of school teams, and again, more reference to Suffolk County because that's where we're based, but I always look at it, the more high level players you have on a school ball team, it makes perfect sense, and it sounds kind of simple, but the more high level players you have on a school ball team, generally the better they're going to be, right?
Absolutely.
And if you look at the teams that normally do well from Nassau County, from Suffolk County, they have more high level players.
Yep.
But generally, I mean, listen, as you go through triple AA, double AA, and so on, but if you look at Suffolk County, the big schools who perform really well every year have a lot of players who play on good club teams. Like, that's generally as simple as it gets for me.
Yep.
And I don't think people always look at it as straight as that. The more, and like you said, you think you have 3 or 4 players every year. Some schools have 8, 9, 10, 11, or they might have 13, 14, 15. And that's, I suppose to some extent, is what interests me the most about coaching at high school, because every year is so different.
Yep.
Like I just said this to somebody earlier, where I coach, I think 2 years ago we probably had a little bit more talent, like raw talent, but our record was better last year than it was that year.
Sure.
And why was it? Then you have this debate every year, well, talent is hard to manage,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then if the expectations are a little lower, sometimes you can exceed those expectations. Your expectations are high, it's hard to get there. Your expectations are a little lower, they're easier to surpass. And I think the other thing, the biggest difference for me between club and high school is just the roster from year to year. We talked about this on our last episode. Like, I would say most clubs are similar, but probably you retain about 85% of your kids every year. So you have this baseline of kids understanding and what you want to do from year to year, right? Whereas like school soccer, we could go a year where we graduate 15 seniors, and 12 of them were our 12 best players.
Yep.
So you're going into the next year and it's, wow, like, this is just so dramatically different. And I do want to touch on it with you, because something we actually spoke before, we were offline, but like, how integrated, I think what I like to try and see now from a high school perspective is how integrated are the JV teams, the middle school teams, to the actual varsity team. And I think I think they're probably, if you go back 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, it's different programs.
Yeah.
Middle school's over here, nobody cares. JV's kind of there, and then varsity's here, and they put so many of their eggs into varsity that they don't look after the development of a school. And I think definitely from where I am and all of the Suffolk coaches I talk to, because I talk to a lot of them, I think that's changing now. I think they look at the school as a whole and say, how can we, it's not just short term, it's not just varsity, like it's this one season. Now it's looking after the development of all of it. I know, like,
That's the tie-in, though, isn't it? Right?
Yep.
We're going to get to that, but
But
that
like-
for me is when you look at anything, right? So if you go back and you look at Man United, and you said about the class of '92, Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't stupid, right? He's gone into Man United in '86, and he's gone, how do I develop youth? How do we grow a program for longevity? Because it's not just looking at what you've got; it's looking at building a program, right? So that program comes from the youth level and comes through to varsity. And if you don't do it properly early on, then what are you getting as your end product? Well, you're not going to get a good high school team. Therefore, you are scrambling every year, and it's going to chop and change. But if you can put a program in place, you're moving the needle.
Yep.
And I think that's where club and high school tie in and should tie in, because we're all coaching soccer. We're all coaching kids. They need to be able to be in a good environment to be able to develop.
So
That's the key for me.
I agree, I 100% agree, Eddie. And I think if you go to the Suffolk coaches meeting and the Nassau coaches meeting, you poll them all. You'll have a big group of coaches who say, I'm the program director. I'm in charge of every team.
Yep.
You'll have a little group of guys who say, no, listen, I'm just in charge of the varsity. I have a JV coach. I have a middle school coach. And you'll have a few guys who, if you give them a lie detector test or truth serum, they'll say, I'm here for a paycheck. Right?
Right.
That's the unfortunate reality we live in.
You get that in every world, right? Even
Everywhere,
in our
yes.
world as well.
Yeah, train conductors, teachers, cops,
Yeah.
firemen, everybody.
Absolutely.
I'm in charge of the program guy.
Yeah.
Right. So when as soon as the middle school starts for season, the first day they're there, I walk out on the field and I say, hey, listen, I'm the varsity coach. Nice to meet you all. I'm right here if you guys need anything. This is your coach. I've known him for this long. Here's his credentials. He's a great coach. I trust him explicitly. He's going to do great for you guys. And then we also do a program day where toward the end of our season, we invite them over to do drills with us. We can't go contact with them, right? But they do drills with us so they can learn what we do. And then in the summer, we do off-season training and we invite the middle school kids in as well. But we're also small enough where I have 8th graders. I even had a 7th grader playing varsity. So
Right.
we're small enough we can do that.
It's such a great experience, though, right?
Yep.
For these kids, and that's the mentorship that
By
is
all-
also required.
Again, we've talked about, we've been here a long time now. So I've been here for 15 plus years. He's been here for 20 plus years. And I do think if you really look at high school soccer as a whole, there's a lot of changes,
Yep.
right? The coaching is better. There's no doubt about
Yep.
it. You go back 15 years ago, I think what you just said about those 3 areas, there's probably more of this area,
Yes.
which was, we're just picking up a paycheck because every school district has to give it to a school teacher
Sure.
first. I think a lot of the contracts in the schools have changed as well over the last probably 10 years to say that it doesn't have to be a school teacher coming into a lot of the varsity programs now, which is interesting. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a school teacher, but and I also think there's a lot more coaches who care. And listen, we can talk about club soccer and high school soccer. There's always going to be bad coaches.
Sure.
There's
in
no
both.
debate.
In
In both.
And both, yeah, so
100%.
there's some bad club coaches.
100%.
Yeah.
There's going to be bad coaches everywhere. And bad coaches in every sense of the word. People who don't know soccer.
Yep.
Right? There's going to be people who don't care. People who don't look after the kids. But, like you said, and knowing Suffolk County, and you know Nassau very well, in my mind, it is way further ahead than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I think it's improving. And I also think because there's people like you who care for a program, who want the soccer program to be strong and who do their detailed research and move soccer along, and I think there's a bunch of people in Suffolk County, everybody else has to keep up.
Yeah.
So there is this trend now of, well, if these are the top 5 schools in Suffolk County or these are the top 5 schools in Nassau County, why are they? Sometimes it's because of size of school, just because generationally there's always been good soccer players or they're more of a soccer community, right? That happens. But I also think it's driven by the fact that there's more people in high school soccer now who are more knowledgeable, care more, which drives the level from the top, which means people have to catch up. And I
Yep.
think that's massive. because there has been this over the years. There's always club coaches who fight high school coaches, and high school coaches who fight club coaches. And realistically, for if you just put a bigger thing on it in terms of Long Island, the only way to raise Long Island soccer is for people to work together, right? That's as simple as it gets. So if you're going to support high school programs, support them. Like, my easiest thing that I talk to kids about every single year going to high school is everybody's going to be in a different situation. Some kids are going to go to a school and there's going to be other good players. Some kids are going to go to school and there's not that many good players, right? Some people are going to have good coaches. Some people are going to have coaches that the kids might have more knowledge than them. That's the truth. But if you're going to play high school ball, go and do it. And if you're the best player, make everybody better. It's such a... It can be such a learning curve for a kid to go into a program. Like you said, I coach kids right now at this level, like high level, and they have to go to a school district and they're playing with maybe three other players who are on the same level.
That's the point, and I wanted to make, and I wanted to get your take on it because, you coach seniors within the club, you coach juniors within the club, you coach a varsity program. Why should the elite of the elite players on Long Island play high school ball? Like, why should they continue to do that?
So it's about the love you have for your town and the love you have for your community, right? So I've moved out of my hometown. I still love my hometown. I still watch them. I still root for them. And I would say if you go back, if I could take all of you back in a time machine to one of two games, Herrick-Syosset County Championship or the Comac-Brentwood County Championship.
Last year.
Just this past year. That's better than any atmosphere you will ever see at a club game ever. I don't care what two teams are playing. Because, number one, you have Herrick's, who's coming off of, they were winless for 4.5 years. Like, from COVID up until like 2 years ago, they didn't win a game. And now all of a sudden, here they are with the only female coach in the county going up against the beast that is Syosset. And and by the way, we're the kid who left the club program because he couldn't play for his high school team. I'm playing for my high school team. I want this experience. And that stadium was bonkers.
Wow.
And then for the Comac-Brentwood game, which I'm sure you were probably at.
I was, yeah.
That was probably one of
the
one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen in a game.
Over 3,000 people at a high school game.
Yeah.
And the funny thing
that's
is,
what opened your
you
eyes
and
a
me
little
were
bit.
at the state final,
And I went,
and it wasn't
anywhere near
as packed as the Suffolk County final.
Yeah,
and that's not knocking the state final at all.
Right.
You've got to travel to it. It's not going to be as it's
No,
not
but
as localized.
again, locally here,
Right.
Like when
Because
you touch on that.
Because when you
Kids won't play in
have
that
these
shit.
rivalries, like I'm thinking of it for me, Oyster Bay, Carl Place. Like, we haven't beaten Carl Place in 8 years. And you watch those games, it's like a rugby match. And these kids are hitting, we hate each other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, we love each other.
Of course.
If you go watch like Massapequa Farmingdale, that's a huge rivalry. So even Oceanside Syosset, I mean, they get up for these games because they live in the town, the parents lived in the town, and you'll have the dad sitting the night before the game being like, I remember when I played them in 1991 and they beat us in the rain, and it's built into families.
Right. It's ingrained in them.
And I don't know that that's not here, but in these club programs, especially when, and I've been starting to interview kids about their recruiting experience. I was on this team for my first 3 years. Then I jumped to this team. Then I jumped to this team. Then I jumped to this team. You're on 4 teams in 3.5 years. You can't own a rivalry like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
We've touched on that in the past, for sure.
Yeah.
It's that emotion, the community that you can't replicate that.
I think in Suffolk County as well, like there's interesting things as well, where there's your typical rivalries, which are really close, right? So like Patchogue's biggest rivalry would be Bellport, but they're not in the same league, right? So they don't really play each other, but they did a few years ago. The game was crazy, like crazy. But you build other ones. Like I can tell you that, I know the Brentwood coaches really well. Pat Med was not a rival of Brentwood, right? They hadn't been to playoffs for 25 years until about 5 years ago. But the program's evolved. It's got better. The head coach, Tim Trevor, I'll give him a shout out, has done a really, really good job from a program perspective over the last 5-6 years. Pat Med versus Brentwood is a rivalry now. Yep. It's not a rivalry that has been around for 20 years or the next door neighbours. Pat Med versus Floyd is a big rivalry. Floyd versus Longwood is a big rivalry, right? You get Comac versus Brentwood's always going to be a big rivalry. But, just going back to that county final here last year, I asked Eddie to come, and Eddie doesn't watch that much high school soccer. He actually watched probably more this year than he's watched in a long time.
Yeah,
he's coaching juniors.
So you have a bit more.
So he's invested. He goes and tries
to
to watch everybody. But we're watching that game, and the environment's crazy.
Was that an eye opener or what?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was a critic, right, when I first came here, because for me, growing up in the environment of more of a professional club setting, with the pyramid system from grassroots to professional club, that's where I lived. So that was the experience I had as a young player. And I played school ball in England, and I didn't go into college because, again, we take a bit of a different pathway if you're trying to make it. But I think I was naive to the community base and what that is all about when I first came in. It took me a while to appreciate. Again, if I look at the quality of soccer, if I'm just talking from a soccer developmental playing perspective, I wish sometimes it was better, right? So that's the argument sometimes I have. But then I flip it to the other side of it to say, like, what does the kid get out of this? That's irreplaceable, and that lasts a lifetime. And I think that's where, when we talk about player development, player pathways, like why play school ball, why is it important? Because we say it, 99.99999% are going to college, and they can go through club with high school and go to the same college they would have gone to no matter what, and they don't lose that high school experience. So I think that is ultimately the eye opener for me, that now I have in perspective that I probably never had.
Don't you think over time as well? I don't know if you agree with this, but do you see or feel that players maybe get too comfortable, like just playing in the same system, under the same coach, under the same thing, over and over and over again, not trying to play in high school, to play in club at the same time, to do both, or like, because if it's the same thing over and over again, are they really growing in that department? Like it's just repeated, like.
So I'm going to give you a fence answer. Yes and no, right? Because I think in Nassau County, we have a couple of teams that are really pushing the envelope. Suffolk County, you do as well, right? Remember when I saw Brentwood for the first time a few years ago, I texted my assistant coach. I recorded their warm-ups, and I was like, that's the mountaintop. That's where we need to be. They're like an army. And just watching them play, I'm like, yeah, they're pushing. I don't know enough about Suffolk, but I think, to me, they were pushing all of the Suffolk County teams everyone in Suffolk is chasing Brentwood, especially with Coach Eden's, all of his titles and everything else. In Nassau County, it's Garden City. Everyone's chasing what Garden City does. They are pound for pound the best athletics program on the island. But if you look at they haven't lost a game in 4 years. Back-to-back state titles. I mean, they're producing All-Americans. They're multiple All-Region guys. But now they're going, the problem is they're getting too big for Nassau County and Long Island. Now they're playing teams in Jersey. They're playing teams upstate. They're getting big. But now that's forcing everyone else to chase them and say, what do we have to do to be like them?
Yep.
Right?
That's a good thing, right? Standards. We talked about that in previous episodes, of standards across everything.
Yes.
On the field, off the field, but what is the elite of what you can achieve and provide to the kids?
Right. So I think that speaks to we have to change and evolve.
Yeah.
But I also think there's something to be said about, there are kids who are very comfortable with just saying, I'm okay being okay. I know some kids will know freshman year, I am never going to play at Sousa. I am never going to play college ball. I'm okay with that. And there are also some coaches that know that I don't have to evolve because I am never going to beat Garden City. Right? I just know I'm not. And like we said in the beginning of the show, when we set our season's expectations, I know going into next season, it's unrealistic for my team to go compete for a state title because it's too big of a leap. But it's realistic for me to compete for a county title and maybe compete for the Long Island title. I just don't know that we have the stamina and the legs to go back to Middletown or even up to Middletown. So it could be a comfort thing for a few years, and then you turn it into now developing.
Yeah.
I think, just touching on, going back to Suffolk again, my experience in Suffolk County before I coached at high school was Brentwood and was Comac, because I knew Ron Eden and I know his assistants, Joel, I shout him out, Joel and Panda. And I know Coach Morana at Comac, and you look at those programs, and they're literally competitive every year.
Right.
And everybody can turn around and say Brentwood's the biggest school district, Comac's one of the biggest ones, but you still have to manage players, and you still have to. You don't win every single year because that's what they do. They win every single year. They're in playoffs every single year. They're always top 1, top 2, top 3 teams. You don't do that without doing something right, right? And I always go back to Brentwood and just how they run the program, and it comes back to standards. It really does. Every single kid in that program knows the expectations. They know what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, and they also completely know the consequences of their own actions, right? And if you're not on board, you're not on board, right? And I think that's also...
They've got the depth to be able to set those standards potentially, right? But you've still got to now hold the standards, regardless.
But I think if you set standards, you've got to stay there, and it doesn't matter what the depth is. And again, if I go back to Pat Med and where we coach over the last 5 or 6 years, we look at those programs that have been winning forever, and we take pieces, just like we always talk about with coaching courses, right? You go on a coaching course, you don't take everything out of it.
Right.
You take pieces that you like. I watch him coach, I take pieces that I like, and I get better as a coach, or I mature as a coach, or I change things as a coach. And it's the same for me at high school. Look at the programs that do really well and try and keep those standards. And that's what we've done over the last 5 years in the program. And like I said, is Pat Med unbelievable? Like, they're not unbelievable, but we compete every year.
Right. And so now you look at a school like Carl Place in my Conference B. They're chasing their 8th county title in a row this coming season. Now that's beyond just a couple of good players. That's sustained with here's our standards and here are our expectations. And their expectation is we're competing for a county title, we're going to the regional, and we're going to go upstate. Garden City is the same thing. But then if you look at the AAAs, they've had 8 county champions in the last 8 years. Wow. So there's a lot of parity there. And going back to the Bees, Cold Spring Harbor over the last 4 years has a better winning percentage than Carl Place. They have 0 county titles to show for it. So
this is weird.
It's very strange, but it's about those standards, right? And it's about laying in those expectations.
Does that go back to the program management again, like you said before?
100%.
Like those coaches look at the younger kids coming through and the future of the program every single year.
Yeah, and this is like one of these bizarre quirks, because the guy who coaches Cold Spring Harbor, Christian Lynch, he also coaches their lacrosse team. So he's won 3 state titles in a row as the assistant lacrosse coach. So it's not like he doesn't know how to win.
Right.
It's this weird thing where Carl Place, I shouldn't say weird. I don't want to put any disrespect on them, because they're a legit powerhouse program to go through all of those different kids, and they've run through every team in the county. And now they're talking about pushing programs. They're scrimmaging Garden City before the playoffs. This is where they're pushing things, right? So, when you look at how teams now start to evolve and set standards, and I think you guys here at Sousa are doing the same thing in the club scene. I think you guys are really doing an incredible job of just pushing everyone else and setting a new standard of what the expectations of club ball are.
Yeah, I think it's crazy to say a school program is going for its 8th consecutive county title.
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about 8 years, I mean, those players have come and gone. Obviously, something's going right there within the internal structure. Of
2 different coaches, too.
Right?
Yeah, so
Multiple
the
coaches.
culture in the community and the history that it has.
And
It sticks.
Yes, and that's the 2nd smallest school in Nassau County.
that's crazy.
I always find it really interesting that you could turn over, like Brentwood do every year. Brentwood are really, really heavy senior team every single year. Don't get me wrong, there might be a junior or very rarely a sophomore that will play, but they turn a team over every year. And because their roster, they keep a big roster, you're turning over at least half your players every year. But the next players come in and they manage to hit the expectations, because it's just there's this rich understanding that you just win, and then they just keep building it into kids every single year, and it just baffles me, and I suppose it shouldn't. Listen, the guys there are really good. They obviously are, right? But it baffles me that every year the kids they're there straight away.
Yeah.
There's no building blocks. There's no we're gonna win next year. No, we're gonna win this year.
now.
Well, they've heard about it.
And with
They've
high
heard
school,
about it, they feel it, they live it. People
live it
talk
all their
about
life.
it in the community.
I could have been there.
So
I could have been part of that Brentwood system.
There you go. But you chose to leave because
someone
drove
drove
into your
someone
house.
drove a car through your house.
Is that my fault? It's not my fault.
It happened for a reason. So now look where you are.
How good was Riverhead when you were there? You weren't bad, right?
We weren't bad, no, but I mean, we weren't competing for county titles or anything like that.
Has Riverhead ever competed for a county title?
I mean, no.
It's a big football school, right?
Yeah.
It was.
Or it was while I was there. Huge.
Okay, right.
Huge when I was there. But
Who was your big rival?
I would say Newfield.
Newfield.
I think we had a lot of kids around the same age as me, 97. And that was a rival. I mean, big rivalry. We wouldn't have 3,000 people in the stands, but it was decent. I mean, yeah, we always had good games against Smithtown East. I think it was good, but back then it was what? It was League One, League Two. Is that
Right.
the case anymore? Like, what is it? Is it? I couldn't
It
even tell
changes
you.
every year.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I couldn't tell you where it's at in Suffolk County right now because
Well, for us, it's AAA is the big schools, down to Bs is the small schools, but Suffolk, you guys have Cs and Ds.
And they
Oh,
also
okay. Right.
they reset the structure every year.
Right.
Last year we played in Suffolk County. We played every team once. So there was 17 teams in A. And
Right.
They split it, and then this year it's gone back to size of school.
Right.
So now we play everybody twice. It means obviously you don't play like we wouldn't play Comac this year. We played Comac last year. Patmed's in a big school district, so we'll play Brentwood, we'll play Bayshore, we'll play the two Sachums, we'll play Longwood, William Floyd, Riverhead.
Yeah.
But we'll play everybody twice. So it pretty regularly changes in
Right.
Suffolk County. I don't know why.
Good. I think we'll end with this question then that we had sent in. I think everyone can chime on this. I definitely want Brian's take on this as well. Real simple. Does high school soccer better prepare players emotionally for college athletics?
I'm going to say, I don't know if it's better prepare, but I think yes, it does. Because they have to be able to handle the academics and then athletics, right? And this is something I never thought about. Talk about taking from other coaches, right? William Shap from New Jersey, just saw him at the coaches conference, and he was talking about breaking down your practices and really thinking critically about it. And he was talking about how if you have 7 o'clock games, it doesn't make sense to practice at 3 o'clock the week leading up to your 7 o'clock game. Practice at 7, because when you're done with class at 2:30, and then you practice at 3, you're getting used to it. But now, how can the kids
7
manage
o'clock.
that 4-hour break, right? So I think having the kids just stay in that mindset of academics and then athletics, right? Because I think and again, not having never played club soccer, this is, I come, I practice, I go home. I play my game, I go home. For school ball, it's very much, I go to practice, I come home, do homework, go to school the next day, or I have a game, go to school the next day, and then first period, I'm sitting in my English class, and people are like, hey man, good game yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think it's more ingrained into what college soccer might be.
I also think just, depending on the college you go to, of course,
Sure.
but college is like a school, right? So there's going to be people who support the team at college, right? There's going to be this kind of school feel of playing college soccer. So I think
Pride.
that's important as well. Pride
Pride
in
of
your
the
school.
school.
And I think if I go back to my first introduction of high school soccer from a coaching perspective, I didn't understand that, right? I'm from England. I go in and I'm just about soccer. I don't care about the school, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm not about school spirit first and like senior day and all of
Classmates
these
and
classmates and how it feels going in after a win, and walking around the school like you're big time, like. And I think again, as you get more ingrained in it and you see it more, it has more influence on you in terms of thinking this is a big deal for these kids, right? Like, and again, we've been like this for years. It's high school soccer. People do it. It's okay. Go do it if you want to do it.
Yep.
If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But as you spend more time around the kids, especially because, you know, we know it when we get through to the fall and we start trying to get kids together, and if they're still playing in playoffs, they can come, but they'll sit, they don't play, or they don't come because they're part of it. And then you go to that Brentwood Comac game, and you know, I got names written on the board over there who played in that game, and all of the other people who don't play for Comac and Brentwood were at that game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't buy that in
can't replicate
club
that, no.
soccer.
No.
And I think the only thing that probably gets close to it is probably playing in college, right? There is going to be more of an atmosphere. Like, I've been to plenty of college games where, you know, you go to a Stony Brook game's a good thing to watch because there's local community there all the time, right?
Yes.
They bring people in. I think they do a good job from a local community perspective, but there's always going to be people there. It's down the road from here, right?
Yeah.
Like, people go to watch it. It's a bigger crowd.
But here's the other side. If I can interrupt you for a second. Here's the other side. Club soccer prepares the athlete better for playing soccer in college. Because I would guarantee you, I could spend a month here, and you guys never have conversations as coaches looking at the kids on the field saying, yeah, he's a drill killer. We have them at every, I'm sure you had guys you played with at Riverhead, and you're like, man, this guy's killing every drill we do, man. It is halting your progress as a team. You don't have that in college. Ever.
Yeah.
Right? So
You shouldn't.
right? And I always say, like, one of the things I take pride in is that in my 10-ish years coaching, I've put 13 kids in college programs. A sum total of 0 of them played club soccer. So would they have benefited more? Probably. But they've went to decent schools and played soccer. Now, you guys put kids in great schools, and their skills are so much better because they're here, and I think they're probably going to hit the ground running a lot better than a kid who only plays for his town team. Because your rigor here is so much higher than they would having been only playing for the Merrick PAL team or the Limbrook PAL team.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I think,
Yeah.
you know, for me, what we can get out of this, right? Like, now we live this every day, and we've lived it for 20 years on more of the club side. You know, I coached some high school out east on Long Island when I first got here, and I did appreciate it. And we tried our best going back to program management from the varsity coach. I was younger at the time, so I was the JV coach, but I worked directly with the varsity coach, and I also ran the club. So there was such a tie-in that once those kids graduated, the school won states. And those kids, probably half the team went on to play at a decent level in college. And that was a really small school district. So there is a direct tie-in. And I think that's our goal here, is recognizing that we all coach soccer. They're all the same kids. So now, how can we align? What can we do from a club standpoint to work with you guys as the high school coaches? So for people listening out there, like, that's our goal here, is how do we collaborate for the kids? Because ultimately that's why we do this. Right? So going from the little kids, okay, what school district you in? Who's your coach? Great. Do you know the high school coach? All right, you're coming playing for club. We have to respect each other. And if we could work together more, that's an amazing thing. Like, that's for me how I envision it. And I would love to do that more.
And I think having gone upstate and broadcast those games, the continual thing I keep hearing is the schools upstate, they're scared of Long Island teams. They don't want to play us.
That's great.
Right? So,
keep it going.
And when we get out of our county games, and I would hope that Suffolk guys say the same thing, once we finish the county championships, you're not my rival anymore. I'm all in. It's like, as soon as Carl Place beats me, right, and as soon as Carl Place beats whoever they have to beat in the county championship, I'm go Frogs.
You're supporting
I'm wearing the green and the white.
That's cool.
Because I want them to beat Babylon. And once they beat Babylon, I'm like, listen, I'm riding them all the way upstate. And because it goes from our class to the island to now let's ride up, because we want Long Island to be strong in soccer. We want them to be known as a soccer powerhouse.
Right.
And the more that you guys keep doing what you're doing, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think, again, just relationship building, right?
Absolutely.
Like I can tell you this weekend, like, we had games this weekend, and we had all high school age groups. Like, we had high school coaches come and watch this weekend. Like, and we go chat to them. Like, we had one of them who we invited to the sideline. He just came and sat on the sideline with us this weekend.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's the way we want it to be, though.
Again, work together instead of against each other. That's as simple as it gets for me. Like, kids want to play it. Let them play it. And when they do go away, this is important for us. Something that we do is don't interfere. Like they're at high school. Let them go be high school kids. Let them go enjoy their high school program. And then when they come back to us, you know, the first thing that we talk about is how was your high school season, right? Like, and when we send them off, our job in the summer, we're very limited with high school kids in the summer, but the thing that we do, like in our mind, is prepare them to go to high school, however that is, whether it's fitness, whether it's just mentally preparing them to say, this is what you're going to get out of high school soccer, this is what it is, this is what you should try and take out of it. And I think just like final points from me, like I go to Suffolk County Awards every year, right? There's nothing better than sitting in that room with 700, 800, 900 people every year, and I think we've talked about it, Nassau's very similar. And these kids are getting awards, and they love it. And you can't, and this is where I come back to high school soccer, and I'm never going to go against club soccer, is what I do, and I love it. But you can't recreate that night.
No.
And what it means to the players and what it means to the parents and the communities and the clubs. And I'm sure you walk in the next day, like we had 3 All-Americans here this year, right? Yeah. I can't imagine what it's like walking around a high school, like when you've just been named an All-American. Like you must be on cloud 9, right? And it's something you're never going to forget. And it's going to live long after a lot of the memories that you have at club soccer. It's
just keeping it in perspective again, isn't it?
Yep.
Right? Like, because we go back, we skim it all down. Why do these kids play soccer? What do they want to be a part of? What do they want to get out of it? But that is part of their journey. So I think what we're learning is if you take that away from them, club soccer can be amazing as well, right? There's so much benefit from it, as you said. But can you tie in both? And can there be a tremendous value for that kid on and off the field? Right, and then take that with you into your college program, and then bring it all back again for the next generation. Well, so that's the goal.
Because all 4 of us sitting here love the game.
Absolutely.
And all the kids love the game.
Right.
And it's like the Manchester United over 50 team is not calling any of us anytime soon. Right? Our playing days are over. Or Tottenham. I mean, they're getting relegated, so they might call you.
So wait until we get a point tomorrow. Then we'll be.
They might have to sign him because
they might.
To be fair,
they're going to need some bang average players.
So we're not getting called. So all we can do is try and promote these kids and just make them the best that they can be at the thing that we all love, and that's it. That's really all it comes down to. Everything else is just noise.
So we've had a conversation about a couple of kids, right, who could potentially go on and play at an NYCFC or in that pro pathway. So what do high school coaches think of that?
I don't ever want to see a student athlete being held back because of my ego and my desire to win. And I had when I first started coaching, I had a student who we were having meetings about him. He was struggling at risk of not graduating, and I said, hey, listen, here's the deal. They were trying to push college on him. I said, listen, you only have X amount of years left with your knees. Forget college. College will be there in 6-7 years. Go chase it. Go. And he did. And he went and played pro in Baltimore for a little while, and he came home, and now he's giving back, and he's coaching youth. Right. So if I have a young man on my team who plays for you guys, who I think has a somewhat decent chance of doing something, I would never say to him, listen, don't go to that team. I need you to help me win a county championship. It's not fair. Right. It's just not.
Yep, appreciate that.
It's about them.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's cool to hear, right? Because there is, as we said, there's different levels for everybody, and there should be different levels for everybody. We're only talking about like that one kid, right? One kid on Long Island, or not just one, obviously, right? But one kid per program per school. Maybe, right? So that's where you look at it and go, let that one kid go. That's the kid who could go pro. Who has that dream and slim chance. But everybody else, this is part of your experience.
We've had 2 over the last 2 years, and they're both actually Nassau kids. I mean, Connor Faiello, who from Plainview, and he liked playing scoreball. It wasn't like he didn't like playing scoreball, but he went to New York Red Bulls. It's a pro team. He's in the second team right now. Like, you can't hold a kid back
because you're right there.
Because anything else. And then we have one, this week who's going to NYCFC, who's a junior. But again, that pathway is pro. Like you can't. That's the top level, right? Those kids, they're probably not going to play high school.
Right.
But for everybody else, in my mind, it shouldn't be one or the other. They should have the choice to do both.
Should be part of the journey.
And let's be honest, the only reason why this is even a conversation is because with every youth sport, soccer is the only one that says you can't do both. Like my son plays lacrosse. He goes out and plays for Long Island Express or any of these other club teams. They say, we want you playing high school ball. But then again, high school lacrosse is the second highest level of lacrosse they're ever going to play.
Yeah.
College is number one, right? And I understand the argument, right? If you have a kid like Connor Faiello and he's out there practicing with his Plainview Old Bethpage team, and now here comes the drill killer, and Connor's got a breakaway, and this kid slides tackles him, takes out his knee, his career could be over. You want to protect that asset.
Right.
I understand both sides.
Of course.
I 100% do.
But this is why I think conversations like this are so important, just to open that up, because people would think, 3 club guys talking to a high school guy, like, these things don't happen as much as they should, probably. So, obviously, we appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me. This was fun.
Yeah, I think we should do it again in the future for sure. And then, as far as you're concerned, like, where can people find you and your stuff and like socials and things like that, like Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah, so 2 places: Nassau Soccer on Instagram, and the same thing on YouTube. This is where we just started pivoting there because, again, like we talked about, no one's going to watch an hour-long podcast on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
So now we're just putting all my interviews up on YouTube. I'm sorry, they don't watch it on Instagram. They'll watch it on YouTube. So Nassau Soccer on YouTube, Nassau Soccer on Instagram.
And you got some more recruitment journey stuff coming out as well.
Yeah, so I just interviewed 2 of your guys. I'm editing that now, and should be out probably by midweek. So I'm looking forward to that one. That was a good time.
Sweet, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're excited for this to go out to everybody. Obviously, we thank everyone for listening. For the first 2 episodes, this is an exciting one too. So we're excited to get it out and see what the reaction's like. But again, like people in this community, we just want to talk, just want to have conversations. High school, club, college, whatever it is. So again, we appreciate you coming on. Anything else before we sign off, or?
No.
I'm good.
Do we clap off too?
No, we don't
We
clap
clapped
off.
on. We clap off.
No.
I
I gotta say this, Brian. There's 2 things that normally happen. One, he's somehow showing off his feet some way or another.
Disgusting.
With socks or without socks. So what are you wearing today?
Shoes and
Okay,
socks.
good.
Unbelievable.
Very professional.
I've come
Just
a long
got better
way,
and
guys.
better, yeah.
I've come a long
And
way.
the-
Episode 3, I've gone from bare feet to socks.
To
now I'm
shoes.
wearing shoes
It's
and
gonna have
socks.
stilettos.
That's
on
awesome.
Next week are boots.
Stilettos.
This is impressive.
And then how we close it off, Eddie always says peace out. We don't clap. He just says peace out. So go ahead, Eddie.
Peace out, baby.
All right. Well done.
All right.
Well